Welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar on Outlook tips and tricks. My name is Peter Meredith and I'm so glad you all are here. I am just going to jump right in to the tips and tricks. If anybody has any questions, you can just throw those in the chat and I will circle back at the end to answer any of those. I thought it would be helpful to start off with a little quote. Outlook is ultimately just an email client, and a lot of times people use Outlook for more than what it should be, and that, I think, is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal for what I'm showing you today is a clean and organized Outlook that will help you spend less time in the clutter of email and more time on real work without getting distracted. So without any further ado, I will switch over to Outlook. So the first thing I want to mention is I am using the new Outlook. So some of you may still be using what Microsoft calls the classic Outlook, and ultimately Microsoft will probably push everybody to the new Outlook one day or another. And so that is why today I'm using the new Outlook. The second thing I want to mention is some of the things I demonstrate today may be managed by your organization. And if you run into any of those things, you can always just ask whoever is managing your 365 account to help you change those settings. All right, well, we'll just jump in. The first tip I wanted to share is about multiple email addresses. So down here, you can see on the left, I have an add account button. You can actually add any number of email accounts to your Outlook, and they will just all appear here on the left, and you can collapse and expand the different inboxes. And when you write an email, you can click this drop down and you'll be able to send it from multiple inboxes. So this can be very helpful. It gives you one centralized place to manage all of that. If, however, you go up here to the settings on the top right, this little cog, you can also add something that's called a shared mailbox. So these are mailboxes. Let's say that your organization has a front desk or a finance or an account management type email address. You can have multiple people with the shared email account, and you can put those in here, and then that email will appear down here on the left as well. The other useful tip up here in the settings and under accounts is the automatic replies. So one of the cool features about automatic replies is you can have automatic replies inside your organization and outside of your organization. And you can also even have it to where it will only send auto replies to people who are already in your contacts list. And that can be a pretty useful feature to turn on when you are out of town or anything like that. And then finally, there is the signatures. These, again, in the new Outlook, they're in the settings, accounts, signatures. You can also put multiple signatures and have them set for new messages or replies or forwards. And you can even include them, include a link to your bookings page, which is the 365 way of scheduling calendars. The next tip I have for you is customizing this ribbon at the top when you click on an email. So if you see the three dots here on their more options, you can customize this to include any and all of the buttons that you like using. So some of them you may want, some of them you may not. You can also group them into different categories. And then when they appear up here, this is completely customizable to your preference. Another useful feature is the quick actions and the quick steps. So for anything that you might do a lot of, like let's say you get a lot of invoices, well, you might want a quick step that forwards something to accounting. And then you can have that in your ribbon up here that you just click and it forwards it along. Another quick tip, in the settings, you can go to Mail and then Smart Suggestions. And you may have noticed, if you're using the new Outlook, that sometimes it will have text predictions. This is where you can turn that on or off, and the same thing for suggested replies. So it's a nice feature, but if you are bothered and annoyed by that, you can just go here and turn that off. The next thing I want to look at is Outlook organization. So a lot of people are of the mindset where they create a bunch of folders in their inbox. So you might have an inbox and then you have subfolders and subfolders in the subfolders, and that's a lot to keep track of. My recommendation for organizing emails in a way that capitalizes on the new Outlook is by using email categories and archiving emails that you don't want in your inbox. So let's look at an example. Let's take this example email for a project. What we can do is we can create a category. This little button here creates categories. So I'm going to make a new category, and I'm going to call this category Project A, and I'm going to make it this blue color. That color is already used. I'll use the gray color. And you can also make a shortcut for categorizing an email as this category. And I will hit save. So now this email is categorized as Project A. Then what I can do is I can archive the email. What that does is it takes it out of my inbox and it puts it in the archive over here. But what is super cool about the new Outlook is I can go to, I can do it here, manage categories. Let's say Project A, I can favorite that. And then over here in my favorites tab, I can click Project A, and any email that I put in that category will show up here. So this is a super helpful way of managing temporary organization and long-term organization, because what you can do is in your categories, let's say Project A goes on for 3 months and then I'm done with that and the project's over, I can delete the project from my category. It will remove the messages, but it will not actually delete the messages themselves. So that is now no longer a category, but the email is still in the archive. So that is a pretty cool way of organizing things. Now, there are some cool things you can do with actual subfolders. I like to treat subfolders as basically little mini inboxes that I can create rules that send things to. So you can see I have a newsletters rule and I have a CC BCC rule. So this is a cool feature. So let's look at a newsletter. So this is kind of a newsletter. I might want to create a rule. So I can go to Settings, Mail, Rules. I can add a rule. Let's call this News. And I will say if the message body includes the keyword unsubscribe, I want to categorize it as news, and I'll make that brown. And then I want to move it to a different folder. So I'll click move to a different folder and then newsletters. And then I'll hit save. So now any email I get that has unsubscribe somewhere in the email, so you can see this one has unsubscribe at the bottom, it will pull that over into the newsletters tab, and then I can look at all of those here. The next cool rule you can make is you could say, let's call this, I'll call this a CC, a carbon copy or blind carbon copy rule. You can say emails, I am on the CC line and then you can put those in the CCC/BCC folder. So this can be helpful to unclutter your inbox from emails that you might want to look at, but they're not necessarily super urgent or important. That is another cool feature. And then you can also add rules to forward items to other people or things like that. The next cool feature that you can do with your emails is by right-clicking the email, there is an option to snooze the email. What this will do, let's say something comes in and it's for a few weeks and I want to think about it then. I don't want to forget it, but I don't want to delete the email. Well, what you can do is you can snooze it and you can pick a time or you could choose a date. So let's say next week at 8 is when I want to get this email, and I can hit save. It moves the email out of my inbox and it puts it in the snoozed, and this will sit here in the snoozed folder, and then at the date that I picked, it will pop back up into my inbox. Another cool tip and trick is rather than using your email as your glorified to-do list with all of the different emails you need to reply to or respond to, what you can do is, let's say this is an email that I need to respond to, or it has a task or something like that. I can categorize this as follow up. I need to follow up on this email. Then I can take the to do right here in the top right, and I can drag this email as a task, and that creates a task, and then I can archive the email by clicking this green archive button. And what you could also do is you could make a quick step that does all of that for a to-do item. Then I have on my Microsoft To Do over here on the left, the email pops in, and I can click on this. I can see the email here. I can add it. I can schedule it. I can do anything I need to there. And also, if I go to my categories, if I had follow-up favorited, I can just click on this and I can see all of the emails that I might need to follow up with. And then that works there. If you decide to use this archive your emails and categorize them system rather than a bunch of different inboxes, it can be helpful to create a quick action that is a clear. So this action would clear the categories, clear the flags, mark as complete, and you can go in here and put unpin, put all of the different things like that. And then you can save that and have a quick action up here where you can just say, oh, I followed up on this email, so I can just quick action, boom, and take off all of the tags and everything like that. All right, the last thing that I want to show you is a app in the Microsoft Outlook program that's called My Templates. So if you have not used this before, you will need to go on the left to apps and then My Apps, and it should be right here, Microsoft Templates, but you might have to search for it up here on the left. You will just hit open and that will get it started for you. So once you've done that, it will be forever activated. Then when you're writing a new email, what you can do is you can click this square right here, Outlook Apps. You can click My Templates, and then you can have, these are the templates that are already there, but you can add your own. So let's say maybe I want this to be a thank you template, and I can put in a little thank you note. I can save that, and then that appears here as the thank you. You could do this, let's say you have a bunch of product offerings, and instead of having to type everything every single time someone asks for that, you can come up with any number of templates. Just click that, it adds it here, and you can put all of the anything else you need in it, and then send it, and it's on your way. So I'll send this test to Rachel. All right, I know that was a lot, and hopefully some of these tips have been helpful for you, but that wraps up today's webinar on Outlook tips and tricks. I don't see any questions in the chat. I'll give it a few minutes, but I'm glad you all could join us. And if you have any questions or anything related to IT, feel free to give us a call. I did actually have one more tip that I forgot, so let me throw this back. One thing that I found helpful is up here in the search box. If you're searching for an email, a lot of times it's helpful to click this button in the middle that gives you a much more advanced search filter. So maybe you don't know, maybe you just know some keywords, maybe you know, okay, I think I got this last month, or I knew it had an attachment or something like that. You can use this advanced search function to find more what you're looking for than just simply typing something up here. All right, thank you guys, and I'm so glad you could join us.